Dan Illman, Matt Bernier for Weekend Wrap, taking a look back at the Grade 2 $1 million Bluegrass Stakes, an important Kentucky Derby prep race, and maybe the three-year-old picture was sort of turned on its ear by the results of the Bluegrass. Let's break from the gate. Wild Shot, as expected, is going to go to the front. That's the number 5. On the outside, the number 7, Practical Joke, is up close to the pace. And then you have the maiden IRAP, and you got to give Doug O'Neill credit. He never gave up on this horse.
No, he hasn't. He keeps throwing him into the deep end, even after a subpar performance in the Sunland Derby. You see Wild Shot out there. For me, I mean, this is just a terrible disappointment. The horse never had anything. But Julian Leparoux gets IRAP to relax nicely. Then you know what? I suppose if you drew it up on paper this way and you thought Wild Shot maybe doesn't want to go this far, maybe IRAP inherits this thing, I just don't know that anyone would have thought that IRAP would have dug in like he did.
Let's talk about McCracken, of course, impressive winner of the Sam F. Davis. He's the number 2, and he's pulling in behind horses and in between right now. He missed the Tampa Bay Derby with a little bit of a problem. Maybe he was short on fitness in this race, and it was hard to make up ground to Keeneland on Saturday.
I think the other thing, too, right now, where Practical Joke on the far outside, I think that was the thing, where Joel Rosario knows, I've got McCracken inside, let me make life as difficult as possible. The other thing is, with that move, McCracken's going to get shuffled back to last, and like you made mention, if you think it was a little bit speed friendly, and you see Tappert and J-Boy's Echo toward the rear, they were certainly compromised by that. On the flip side, IRAP, if you believe the speed friendliness of the track, which I happen to, it worked all in his advantage.
Julian Leparoux's going for home right now. He's going to have the bat out before the quarter pole. He's saying, I can't believe I'm in front. Here comes Practical Joke on the outside. He's been chasing throughout. McCracken's going to have to come very wide. Tappert's going to have to come very wide. IRAP does not change leads in the stretch. And doesn't it look like Practical Joke or McCracken's going to get him any time now?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're going to see McCracken start to level out a little bit, but Practical Joke digs in and keeps going. For me, I have to be honest, a very gutsy effort here. You still have to go by IRAP if I'm going to buy into you going long. I think he has distance limitations. The interesting thing, IRAP changes leads going into the first turn after he passes the wire. It's almost like he still doesn't know what he's doing through 8 lifetime starts. But guess what? He's a Grade 2 winner now. In the maiden, he's off the duck.
What a way to win a maiden in a 7-figure Kentucky Derby race at Keeneland. And all credit to Doug O'Neill and the connections, because this horse has tried turf, and he's tried mastery, and he tried Sunland Park, and he got beat twice over there. And they could have easily found a maiden race where he would have been 1-5 somewhere, and he probably would have won. They decided to go on with it in the Bluegrass. Leparoux went for home at just the right time, and it worked out. And this horse has a really nice pedigree. I mean, he's a half to Speightstown, who won the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He's by the Great Tiz now. So a lot of potential here, but I'm just not sure if it's Kentucky Derby potential. A 93 Beyer speed figure for IRAP. Visually, he has to do more.
Yeah, he does. Certainly does. Visually, and from a speed figure standpoint, he needs to improve. This is the fastest race of his life, and I don't want to knock the horse. I mean, look, he went out there and he got the job done, but going forward, he just does absolutely nothing for me.
Practical Joke was caught about 4 wide going into the first turn from his outside post. I think it might have been a little game of cat and mouse with Joel Rosario and Brian Hernandez Jr., and maybe he sort of hit the accelerator, hit the brake, hit the accelerator, hit the brake. I think your point is well taken. You're probably supposed to go buy IRAP in the Bluegrass if you want to be taken seriously as a Kentucky Derby contender. I thought he ran really well, but the jury is still out as to how far he wants to go.
I don't believe he wants to go this far. I think he has a world of ability. I think he's in great hands with Chad, obviously. I still think he's going to need a turn back at some point. He's earned a spot, though, in the Kentucky Derby, and if they choose to go on with him, that's entirely up to them, and I wouldn't have any issue with that. I think his best races are going to be going shorter.
McCracken's undefeated streak is gone, but other than that, he lost nothing in defeat, because this is a horse that probably needed the race and was using this race as a prep. Again, he did miss the Tampa Bay Derby. This was his first start since February the 11th. He was in and among horses and shuffled back, and he was still in with a big chance at the 3/16 pole before he understandably flattened out. If he takes a step forward off this race and runs his representative race at Churchill Downs, he's a big threat to win it all.
Frankly, when I watched this race live, I thought it was a dumpster fire. I thought it was terrible. And then I go back and watch the replay 4 and 5 different times, and I say, okay, you know what? Practical Joke ran very well. Don't think he wants to go this far. I think McCracken ran so much better than this page is going to suggest for all the reasons we laid out. I thought Rosario got him pinched in, which good on Joel. That's race riding. Make sure your main competition.
Try to beat the horse to
exactly, 100%. I had no problem with that. Hernandez got shuffled back to the rear with this horse, and he still came on again. His finish, I don't really have a problem with it. He was tired. He probably needed it. This was his first start since the beginning of February. This is just a horse. I think there's a lot of things going forward that you have to like about it. The distance, I'm a little bit concerned about 10. I don't think it's going to be a major issue, but it's always in the back of your head. He likes Churchill Downs. Ian Wilkes, I read a quote after the race talking about how, he talked to Carl Nafsker and said we still can't get over the bluegrass issue because with Unbridled they lost. And with Street Sense they lost, and both of those horses went on to win the Kentucky Derby. I feel like this was the perfect prep for McCracken.
Interested in your thoughts on J-Boy's Echo, another horse that had to rally into this race from well out of it. How much was he compromised by the track, by circumstance, or was he a little bit flat, or a little bit of both?
I think it was everything, all things considered. Put it all together. I think he was against the track the way that was playing at Keeneland on Saturday afternoon. He was in tight going into the far turn there at the back. He was along with McCracken and Tappert. And he just finished kind of evenly, but knowing that you've got bigger and better things on the horizon, and if you still believe in that 102 that he earned in the Gotham, or somewhere in there, I don't think he's without a chance. I would like to use him underneath if I'm thinking way ahead, and we got a long way to go, but I think he could be one that could get the pieces.
Tappert is still a dope coming out of the gate, and if there was one racetrack in one day where you could not be slow out of the gate, it was on Saturday at Keeneland. That being said, and maybe the track was against him, I expected him to do something, and he did nothing in the stretch, and it's hard to come into the Kentucky Derby off a disappointing race and all of a sudden jump up, even with Todd in your corner. I was a big Tappert fan coming in. I have no idea what I think of him now.
Yeah, I have to be honest. Here I am saying about J-Boy's Echo, I don't think it was a total disaster. J-Boy's Echo was 5 clear of Tappert. Tappert never picked his feet up at any point, and this isn't the horse that we had seen down in Tampa. I don't want to say, like some people have, that, oh, you know what, the Tampa form isn't holding up. I mean, Wild Shot's been thrown to the wolves going long. He doesn't want to go that far. Maybe he's just not this good. Tappert looked good in all of his races. And McCracken, guess what? If you want to say that, I understand this race is not going to look very good for the Tampa Bay races. I'm not going to go that far. If I were the Connections, I would like to see Tappert go to the Belmont. I think distance is his friend. He clearly can't get out of the gate. And I think that's going to be a problem. You think this is a problem on Saturday. What are you going to do with 19 other horses if you're drawn in the middle? You're going to be screwed. I think this is a situation where get him more distance, have him more forwardly placed. He has the points to go to the Derby. If they choose to go, so be it. This was a very poor effort, though.
93 Beyer speed figure for IRAP. Redham Racing, back to the Kentucky Derby. Doug O'Neill, back to the Kentucky Derby. And he should be a pace factor at the very least at what should be a big price in the Kentucky Derby.